As the sun set, Joey pulled up to his grandfather's house. He spotted in the rearview mirror his basketball and his high tops, which were laying on the back seat, and he groaned. Joey just got cut from his high school basketball team. Hanging his head in shame, he got out of the car and began walking up the long dirt path to Grandpa Henry's house. While walking, Joey glanced in every direction. It always amazed him just how remote his grandpa's house was. All he saw was cotton, acres and acres of cotton. No one else was around, no houses, no neighbors. Well, with one notable exception, the county cemetery bordered his grandpa's backyard. Before knocking on the front door, Joey remembered why he was there. His grandpa was all alone out here, and Henry had become forgetful, especially at nighttime. No one in the family wanted him wandering out onto the road. Also, Joey remembered how he was easing his mom's anxiety by being here. He smiled and knocked. After eating dinner, the two guys played a little canasta. When the clock chimed, they both realized how late it was. The sun had gone to bed, and so must they. Joey helped his grandfather upstairs, tucked him in, and wished the old man good night. Before returning downstairs, Joey checked every door, making sure there were no locked doors. Old Henry had a curious habit. He sometimes roamed the halls at night, and if he discovered a locked door, he would wail and bang on it loud enough to wake the dead. "Why is this locked? Let me in, let me in," he'd scream. Now as Joey relaxed on the downstairs couch, his eyelids grew heavy, and he fell asleep. Next thing he knew, Joey shook and woke up. He felt thirsty. After rolling off the couch, he headed for the kitchen and guzzled a glass of water. When he placed his glass down, he spotted a figure standing in the backyard. Joey blinked, and the figure disappeared. That's when he heard it, the wind howling. The front door was wide open. Grandpa Henry, where are you?" Joey searched every room, closet, even under the bed. Nothing. After grabbing a flashlight, he took his hunt outside. The front of the house was empty, same with the sides. Waving his flashlight in the darkness, Joey continued calling his grandpa's name. As he headed for the backyard, drawing nearer to the cemetery, a whole new level of dread and despair overtook the teenager's voice. His footsteps grew smaller, then came to a full stop. There, he stood at the threshold of the old cowboy boneyard. With every fiber of his being screaming at him to turn back, Joey pressed forward. As soon as he passed the cemetery's iron gates, a fog appeared, coming from the cotton fields. It rushed toward him. While Joey walked along the many rows of gravestones, casting his flashlight's beam at them, the eerie fog engulfed his feet, concealing the ground. With the fog came a smell so rancid as to silence a growling belly. Joey tried distancing himself from the foul odor, ending at the Jackson family mausoleum. On it, Joey noticed many names, many death dates, some lives cut short, others who lived long. Above all else, he noticed the gargoyles, stone monsters perched up on their tomb, daggers for fingers and lidless eyes staring at him, watchdogs. And Joey believed they were watching him as a shiver traveled down his neck. Snap! He spun around. "Who's there? Grandpa?" Seeing no one, he began backing up. As he did so, Joey flung his flashlight's beam at the slightest movement. Then beneath his heel, he felt the earth give way. Just before he fell, Joey threw himself forward, face planting in the grass. When he turned around and stood up, Joey discovered a grave, an open grave. The boy gawked at the massive hole that almost swallowed him. For crying out loud, who digs a pit and leaves no sign? Joey dusted himself off and inched toward the edge of the grave, shining his flashlight down into it. As Joey looked up, a gigantic face appeared before his own. Joey fell backwards onto the ground. When he shined the light onto the attacker's face, it was a statue. This headstone was bigger than a man. It was the most terrifying statue that Joey could imagine. He dusted himself off, stepping clear away from the giant hole, and began hunting for his grandfather elsewhere. Having searched everywhere and not willing to venture into the dark fields, Joey had one last idea: the far west section of the cemetery. This section had its own gate and lock to keep out vandals. Joey knew it would be locked. He gazed upon its massive padlock. He tried the lock for the fun of it. To his surprise, it was unlocked. The far west section had overgrown trees and weeds as big as bushes, a kind of neglect that mirrored the forgotten souls here. Criminals and mental patients filled this ground. There were dozens of graves, some labeled with only an assigned number, while others more of a shrine than a grave. But the most interesting row lay in the middle of it all. The first grave in this row read, "Eugene and Gregory Collins, brothers now and forever." The papers called them circus freaks who could read minds and whose jokes always went too far. On the next headstone, the word "liar" had been spray painted. The grave itself read, "Here lies Elizabeth Spencer. However, her true name was Bloody Betty, famous for beheading an entire dinner party after her husband betrayed her. Legend says that she possessed a laugh so haunting that it made spines crawl and children cry." Joey continued down the row. He came across a grave surrounded by junk, bottles, and even a dead bird. After wiping away some dust, the grave read, "Gormley." Gormley was a janitor at the insane asylum whose mind broke after years of swimming in a pool of crazies. He collected trash and other things that didn't belong to him, even people. He named his latest and favorite creation Gordy. It would seem Gormley remains a hoarder, even in death. There were other graves adorned with creepy dolls, scratched to pieces as if with a hook, and much more. Joey spotted something race into the trees. Joey! Now it was behind Joey. That's enough of this! Joey sprinted towards the gate, busted through it, and kept running. He heard footsteps behind him, so he ran harder. Then the footsteps stopped. Bang! When Joey came to, he realized he was at the bottom of a grave. Joey then looked up. There, he witnessed two shapes standing above him in the fog. Two clowns. Joey ran to the opposite grave wall and began trying to scale it. He jumped, but it was too high. He clawed at the dirt wall, but his fingers just passed through it. When Joey realized there was no escape, he heard, "Farewell, Joey!" The two clowns disappeared. Joey breathed a sigh of relief, at least until he heard the wind howling. Then he noticed the terrifying statue above him, wobbling. Soon, the massive statue dove for Joey. Just before it impaled him, the boy dropped, rolled, then fell down a secret passageway. When Joey turned on his flashlight, he discovered a maze of tunnels beneath the cemetery. He heard whispers in the dark. Joey pressed forward. At the end of one tunnel, he discovered a massive door, but he couldn't open it. Joey banged on the door with all his strength and screamed, "Why is this locked? Let me in! Let me in! Welcome to the neighborhood, where there are far worse things than a barking dog or playing music too loud. This is Eugene Collins signing off. I'll catch you later. Peekaboo!"